Hello and welcome to the ShowRatings.tv Pilot Roundtable, a Southgate Media Group podcast. I'm Kyle Tremblay.
And I'm Olivia Richards.
And we're from ShowRatings.tv, where you can rate and review all your favorite TV shows, including the new series we're talking about today,
Jane the Virgin.
According to CW's website, though she has always tried to be the responsible good girl who does the right thing, Jane Villanueva's normally quiet life has suddenly become as dramatic, complicated, and unpredictable as the telenovelas she has always loved. Olivia, we have a guest today, making her second appearance in as many weeks. She's a social media guru, staff writer for ShowRatings.tv, and frequent Google user, Sophia M. Porter. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
You
had to tack that on, didn't you?
I'm making callbacks to your previous. If people didn't listen to the Flash podcast, please listen to Sophia's 5-minute Google battle, the wrestling match between Sophia and Google.
I'll never live it down. My days with Gloria are over.
You'll never live it down, specifically because I will bring it up every single time you're on the podcast from now on.
Oh, I know. I am so aware.
Good. Okay, so Sophia and I discussed this pilot based on the trailer alone back a while back, and so I'm sure she has a lot of thoughts. But I want to ask you, Olivia, going into this, what did you have any idea of what this show would be? And then after you watched it, what are your thoughts?
Okay, all right. I was watching it. Well, my roommate first showed me the pilot, and I was cringing so hard. Oh my god. Well, because first of all, I don't believe in the social implications that we put on female virginity, and I thought this show was going to play that up way more than it actually did, because it was more of a cultural thing.
Right.
Because it's filmed as a telenovela. So yeah, when I was watching the pilot, I had so many reservations about this, and I knew I was going into this with a lot of biases and my own personal beliefs. But actually, when I was watching it, it came from a different perspective than I had thought, and I was kind of happy to see that it didn't go the direction that I thought it was going to go, with a lot of really negative social messages that we teach girls, and I'm like, we don't need to see this on TV. But yes. I was pleasantly surprised.
I really thought this was going to be a PSA for abstinence. That was my expectation going in, and it is not that. Whether it is good or not is another question. So I will ask you, Sophia, now you have the floor to discuss Jane the Virgin. What are your thoughts?
Oh, well, that's a good question. Okay. As you know, we discussed this at length, and I bashed it pretty hard, though
we agreed we picked it as our worst pilot of the season based on the trailer.
We did, and that's saying something because of iZombie.
Yes, so, competing against other CW shows.
Yes, exactly. We did. We really pinned it as what was going to be the worst show this pilot season.
Based only on the trailer.
Based solely on the trailer, which made it look pretty bad. Mm-hmm. Going in, I was completely ambivalent. You know, I didn't want to watch it, and I knew that I had to, and I put it off. I put it off until last night.
Yeah. When
I finally watched it, and god damn it! Oh my god, it was so cute. I can't. Like, it was cheesy and cliche and kitschy and all of those things, but it was adorable. And I'm so frustrated.
Do you just hate it? Do you hate that you can't hate the show?
I feel like I need to hate it on principle, but I can't. I can't hate it. It makes me so angry. I can't hate it.
Were you as surprised as Olivia that it was more a cultural thing with the virginity as opposed to something that was being like socially prescribed?
Yeah, I was. I think definitely it came off in the trailer as a definite like bash against premarital sex. That's what I believed, because they were kind of like, she's a virgin, and they kept hammering it in. She's a virgin. The title of the show, she's a virgin. And it's and Olivia, what she said earlier about the negative connotations with premarital sex in this society right now is they're still pretty heavy-handed. And I was so glad that they went with this more cultural, like it's her grandmother that hammered it in. It's not her mother. It comes from one person, and it's her decision. And that's what I really liked, that they played up on the fact that she had all the control. Yeah, and I loved that.
Yeah, it seems very specific to the character. I think that the pilot did a really good job of establishing her, Jane, as a character, as opposed to some kind of like bland representation of what all girls should be, right?
Yes.
Like that's where I thought we were headed with this, which is that Jane represents the good girl, as the description on the website says, and that she's sort of a stand-in for all good girls. But that's really not the case. I mean, I think that the pilot right away goes to work making her a unique character.
Yep.
And also helping in that regard is, I think, the performance by Gina Rodriguez. Olivia, what did you think of the lead performance in this show?
I thought it was incredible. Her performance was so textured, and there were so many different facets to her personality, specifically the relationship she has with her mother. And when she confronts her, and there's that unspoken kind of conversation between them that Jane she suspects that she obviously wasn't planned, and there's that feeling of not being wanted, and she basically had to weigh the decision of whether to keep her child now, knowing the feelings that she has being an unwanted child. Like it's not a fact of her not being loved, but it's that idea that she wasn't expected. And I thought that was an incredible thing to put in this show in a way that like I didn't think that I was going to be able to, or we were going to see that as the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought. I mean, I think the two breakout performances so far of the fall are Gina Rodriguez here and Cristela Alonso in Cristela, and it's sort of a. I think that underlines the idea of quote unquote non-traditional casting, about having reflecting different cultural perspectives maybe with your casting, instead of having every show look like a CBS crime procedural. like hey, maybe there's a lot of talent here, and Gina Rodriguez is certainly not a household name. I guess her background seems to be in soap operas, but I thought she was really, really good in this. Sophia, what did you think about her, and maybe some of the other cast members?
Are you referring to our Google Hangout last night, Kyle?
Yeah. Well, full disclosure, Sophia was chatting with me, talking at me as she was watching this pilot, and seemed to take a shining to, as she is prone to do, to some of the male leads on the CW shows.
I don't blame her.
Okay. Well,
Thank you, Olivia. I mean, this show has eye candy out the wazoo. And I'll get...
Keep going.
Rodriguez was the strongest point of the show, and they could have made her this doe-eyed, kind of weepy, like accidentally inseminated girl, but instead she had so many facets to her personality, and it was so interesting to watch her play that, and I do think she has been named as the breakout star by a bunch of different magazines and stuff like that for this role, and I totally agree with it. I think that she did a great job. She took the character and she brought her to life, and I think that was really important for this show, because it's such an interesting and off-putting plot that so the lead character needs to be strong, and she absolutely was.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as the guys go, since that seems to be one of your favorite topics that you heroically talked around in that response, what did you think?
Thank you.
What do you think of there's a love triangle at the center of this show, right?
There is. Oh my God. I asked you, I was like, who am I supposed to ship? And I'm not necessarily, I'm not the biggest shipper. I mean, I'm pretty quiet. I'm closeted about who I ship and what I ship, because I think it can be kind of ridiculous and scary. I mean, especially as part of the Supernatural fandom. But oh my God, they were all so beautiful. I was like, okay, what is this? This is not fair that it's all on my screen in front of me and not actually physically in front of me. That sucks. Raphael, holy Jesus. I don't even know where to begin on him. He is so beautiful. And same with her fiance, who has cheekbones made from the gods. And then her fiance's brother, who is in Veronica Mars, who I also have an affinity for. I couldn't deal with it. I was just like, this is too much for me right now.
Okay, so Olivia, I'm assuming that you, unlike Sophia, did not watch this episode like it was the movie Magic Mike. Um, I'm wondering, from putting aside the appearances of the men on the show,
Oh my God.
um,
I'm not that shallow.
no, we'll let your words be the judge of that. No. Uh, what did you think of the love triangle? Like, what's your take on like Sophia said, I don't know if the show is pushing you to root for one side or the other, because the guy, Raphael, the sort of rich former playboy, who you would think would be sort of the bad guy, seems like a pretty cool dude.
Yeah.
What's your take on all that?
The boyfriend isn't? Like, what's that?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
So what was your take on all that, Olivia?
I mean, I'm giving Sophia cred here because, I mean, you guys are very, very lovely on this
Thank
show.
you.
I'm not looking at it purely objectively. However, from a more, I guess, substantial standpoint, I normally hate love triangles. I think they're like the most overused plot device ever, and I think writers have to start weaning themselves off of that to fuel drama. But what I do like on the show is that they're not villainizing either of the guys. If they had just made Raphael like this, weird Juan Pablo, like, ridiculous person who just struts around and is mean to women and is like completely gross and awful, and then you're like supposed to root for her fiance, that would have been one thing. But it's like both guys are coming from unique situations, and they are bringing two different kind of perspectives to the table. And you see Jane kind of just trying to do her own thing. And I'm kind of interested to see where it's going to go, because I could see it going either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all,
okay. They both have merit, which I really enjoyed. And I think that they are so different. We've got the very white fiance, right?
Very
and then we very white, who has a dark history, which is one of the main reasons I really do want to come back to the show and I want to see. But one thing is, you can tell that Jane loves him from the first episode, from the get-go. You know that she loves him, and so I think it's going to be interesting to see her feeling. And in the promo for the rest of the season, they definitely hint at a played-up romance between her and Raphael. And so it's going to be interesting to see, what happens in terms of her fiance's, history coming out. And I think that's something that's going to be a pull for the show, is to see, it's not necessarily a love triangle yet. And I hope that it won't be, because I agree with Olivia. It's definitely overused. But I think it's interesting. I think we're going to see a split audience as well, which is going to be cool.
Yeah, what I like is that I don't know how it's going to end. I could see this ending a variety of different ways, and one of my complaints with all the sitcoms this season, and this is not a sitcom, this is more of a drama. I mean, it's an hour long, so it's like a drama that is, I don't, like a Parenthood style drama, I guess. Like I don't even know, but it is that you can kind of see the end coming from the pilot. Like you know how A to Z is going to end. Like you know how a lot of these shows are going to end, and like right off the bat, just on the premise, you know how they're going to end. And I thought that would be the case with this, and it is very much not. I could see this ending a variety of different ways, and that's exciting. And my sense watching this pilot is that this really isn't like anything else on TV. Like this is a weird primetime show.
Yeah.
It's not a comedy. There aren't jokes. I mean, there are kind of jokes, but not really. Like there aren't punchlines, and but there's like silly situations, but it's dealing with a serious subject matter, and it almost is like a telenovela, but it's much lighter than I would think. Like it's a very strange show, which leads me into my last question, which is, is there a spot for this show on the CW, which only programs 8 hours of prime time a week, if you don't count like the Line Is It Anyway like hour on Friday, and almost exclusively programs with like either superhero stuff or sci-fi stuff like Vampire Diaries or that kind of show. This seems very different than anything on the CW right now. So Olivia, starting with you, like, is this show gonna make it long term? Is there a spot for it? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I hope so, because honestly, it does not feel like a CW show. I was surprised when I saw the network that was broadcasting this, because like you just mentioned the Vampire Diaries, and
Yeah.
you think about the demographic of the audiences that are watching this network, and I'm like, this show I think just feels too like substantial to be on that network. I think a lot of the dramas I use dramas loosely, but like yeah, they're very kitschy, and like you know who's going to be watching them. But I'm really hoping the show makes it, because it's such a good, like the content is so good, and then also the representation from the show, like it's also very culturally driven in a way that like we just don't see, like you had mentioned, like watching all these like kind of whitewashed CBS, NBC, ABC dramas, that it gets so repetitive, and you just get so indoctrinated into this thought that like, you know, your leading people have to all look the exact same way. So
Yeah, absolutely. Sophia, what about you?
Yeah, no, I really hope it does stay. As a person that watches a lot of shows on the CW, I see how different it is, you know, and
Right.
I love that about it. I think that this is what the CW needs to do. It does tend to whitewash. And that's just kind of a common thing in a lot of networks, you know, and that's very common. And so to have a show that is so multicultural and giving its audiences like a view into this different culture, I think is super important. And I'm really hoping that it will stay on, because I think it can teach us a lot, you know, about different cultures, and, you know, and that's going to be very cool. I hope that, I don't know that the CW is the right platform for it, because, you know, all of there's one, I'm trying to think, I guess Gossip Girl was one show that they did that is not magical or fantasy or sci-fi, right? And that's pretty much it. Melrose Place. I guess it did Melrose Place, but that got canceled. So
Did CW do Gilmore Girls? Was that CW?
Oh, I don't know. Was it?
I don't think so.
I'm not Googling.
I was trying to bait you into Googling it.
No, it is not happening. I will not Google. You can Google, Kyle.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I would love to see it stay, because I do love the CW. I stand by it sometimes. I love it, and I love the shows that it produces, but I do think that this is necessary for it, and it's very niche. And we're gonna see what happens, but my fingers are crossed. So.
Well, I did Google it, and unlike you, I am adept at Googling.
Okay,
And,
all right.
Gilmore Girls was a CW show. It aired mostly on when it was called the WB. Remember?
Okay,
back
yeah,
in
the WB.
And then
I do.
Yeah, and then it ended in 2007, like the year that they changed to CW. But
okay, so technically it wasn't the CW.
well, it was the CW. They just changed their name.
Technically.
Okay. I know you care about technical things.
I do.
So, but the point is, the CW has a history in this kind of programming, because I think that is the sort of tone of this show. Yeah. The shows you mentioned. It's just that recently they haven't had any shows like that. You know,
right? Recently, exactly.
So
Gilmore Girls went off the air for a few years ago, right? Or Gossip Girl, not
Gossip
Girl,
right? Jesus. But this harkens back to the prior version of the CW, where it was all sort of young adult dramas, you know, like almost soap opera style dramas for young adults. And now, of course, it's just superhero shows, and
which I love. I'm not complaining.
You're right in the demo for that.
Absolutely not complaining.
But I'm hoping that there is a market still for this kind of show, because I thought it was good as well. Okay, so Olivia, thumbs up or thumbs down on Jane the Virgin?
This is a surprising thumbs up for me.
There we go. Sophia?
Yep, same. Odd, very odd for me, but it's a thumbs up.
And it's a thumbs up for me as well. Can you believe it, Sophia, that the show that we picked as the worst of the fall season is now, I think, only our second all thumbs up show?
The worst thing is that I actually can believe it.
Yeah, I know. We're pretty terrible.
We're pretty horrible. I will say though that we did pin The Flash as an all thumbs up show, and it is. So we're like 1 for 1.
The CW is killing it this year.
The CW, well, we'll see. iZombies
still on the horizon.
iZombies are coming.
All right.
We'll see about that.
Okay, well, thank you, Sophia, for being our guest again. How can people keep up with you?
People can keep up with me, as always, on Twitter. My handle is at Sophia M. Porter, and I also write reviews for Supernatural, and so I live tweet Supernatural on Tuesday nights. The Flash before, by the way, if you want to see me drool over Grant Gustin, that's where you do it.
Yes.
On Twitter. At whatever, 7 CST or whatever. But yeah, so Twitter.
Are you making a date for people to watch you do?
Hey man, if they want to, that's their prerogative.
Okay.
I'm not gonna judge.
All right. Well, you can read Sophia's reviews of Supernatural and the upcoming Constantine anytime at showratings.tv. So that concludes this episode of the showratings.tv Pilot Roundtable. We invite you to check out this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts at southgatemediagroup.com and to read about, rate, and discuss all your favorite shows at showratings.tv. You can follow me on Twitter at KyleLovesTV, Olivia at RichardsOlivia, and Showratings at ShowratingsTV. Until next time, thanks for listening.
If you would like to donate to help pay for this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts, simply go to our website, southgatemediagroup.com, and click on the donate button. It can be as little as $1 or, well, as much as you want. Help keep this fun going by supporting this and our other shows. Thanks again for listening, everyone. You're the best fans in the world.